Okay, this is part 2 of my video on the fluid differential change and swapping out the rear axle of a 96 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm sure it's going to be about the same for most Cherokees. It might be, or any other Jeep, there might be a few things that are a little different, but I'm going to go ahead and show you. I got a lot of bolts loose, try to save some time. I had to undo the lower control arm. I used that wrench because I didn't have more ratchets at the time, which I have now, and I just tightened it with one of these little Loctite wrenches. I forget what you call it off the top of my head, but you just screw this down right here until it gets real tight around the bolt. I let it hit the axle, and on the other side, so I could do it alone, and so I can loosen it because it's one of them double-sided end bolts. So when you got them, this side turns at the same time you're turning the other side. So you got to make sure you're holding this side tight while you're doing that, so you can do it alone. This thing worked great on the opposite side and this side, and it just went up against the axle to hold this steel, and this it's on there. And it's holding tight too, so it worked pretty good. I'm gonna see if I can set my camera up. It's kind of hard to see. Okay, there's the emergency brake line. I had a nut get stuck on me yesterday, so I put some, I put some grease on it, some spray fluids, and I think it's, Fix It? Yeah, Fix It Right. I used to Fix It Right. It worked pretty good when I changed the power steering hose. I had a bolt that didn't want to come off for nothing. So there it is right here. I'm about to loosen this bolt right here. As I loosen it out, the emergency brake is going to come loose. This is going to come out, and this is going to come out, and right here is a clip so I can put a socket piece, whichever one will fit. After this slides out, saw one of the socket pieces over that, clip it out, got the emergency brake lines out, and then I got to undo the upper control arm right here on the axle. So I got to get I ain't got this bolt loose yet, and I got to do the other side also, but I got like the other things loose. I got the shock off right here. That was kind of hard. So if anybody ever tells you this is easy, it's a lot of work. It's not like hard like physical hard labor. It's just time consuming. I had to get the shock off. It was just a bolt, and it was also a double-sided bolt. You have to hold one end while you do the other, just like the control arm. You got the upper control arm. I got to loosen this one still. This one's loose to an extent to hold this up. These 8mm joint bolts are I got them almost all the way out, so the drive shaft will come out of this U thing and come to the ground. All right, so this drive shaft will just come to the ground after I take these little 2 here and 2 on the top right here. Once I take these out, and make sure it's showing you right. Yeah, once so I take these 2 and the 2 on top out, the drive shaft will just kind of come out that U thing here. We got one, my seal is broke, as I mentioned in the other video. I have on the other one, and for the people that need a fluid change, I might make this a 3-part video. They're really short, so you kind of get the idea. But the main axle, so you have the drive shaft that's connected to the differential of the rear axle. This is for the axle swap, by the way. And then you got the lower control arm back here, and you have an upper control arm right here. So I'm gonna have to loosen this that's connected to the axle. So there's a bolt right there. It looks like it's a 2-sided bolt too, so I have to hold that while I kind of knot this in. All these bolts has been about rusted on, so it's been time consuming. That's why I haven't recorded myself just loosening it. But you can tell, if you just remember what I show you, or while you watch the video and do it yourself, you have a lower control arm, you're going to have an upper control arm. Remember the double-sided bolt, one side's got to be held while the other's being screwed, because it's one of them, I forget what you say exactly. The coil spring right here, as you can see, I think you can see it, I got my phone backwards. This coil spring is held on by 1 or it's 2 bolts right here. I can't quite see at the moment. You got 1 bolt on one side for sure with a clip. You just undo the bolt, the clip's gonna come off and it'll fall right. The coil spring should fall right with it, or it's gonna fall out the coil spring regardless. But the first thing you wanna go ahead and do after you loosened all your bolts, make sure your fluid's drained out of here. That would help anyway, make it your old one, if you're doing a swap, makes it less heavy. Go ahead and drop the drive shaft. I need to take these out, and then first though is getting these lines. I don't want to replace any lines. Hopefully this bolt's going to come loose and I don't have to cut the emergency lines to get this swap and make it a forever job. So hopefully this bolt's going to come loose today and start moving. And I sprayed it last night and we'll see if it ends up coming loose. And also you got the brake line, which is connected to the caliper. You have a sensor in here also. Let me move my thing up. You have a sensor right here. I don't know if you can see it. I can't really quite, I can point to it. You have a sensor. There's a bolt right here where my finger's hitting behind the heat shield. This is the sensor. It'll pull out. It should pull out. Don't break that in there, because if you break that in there, then it's going to be a lot harder to get out. On this side, here's a coil spring. You see, here's it's like a screw bolt with a clip right here. The screw bolt is holding this to the axle. Now, the hardest thing I've seen that I might have to do, I also went ahead and unclipped these. These honestly look like vacuum lines, because the brake line is the thicker line that runs up, let's see, from the rotor. I'm trying to find where I set the rotor over here, and I hit it pretty good out the way, I guess, for right now. But this seems more like the vacuum lines, so I'll probably find, well, actually I know this is a vacuum line right here, so what I'll probably do is I'll end up just pulling that out, because it's just gucked up and it looks like it just goes into the frame right there. And I'll probably just pull that out. That would be cheap to replace anyway. I know for sure that's just a vacuum line. These two, to be honest, they may be brake lines. They look like vacuum lines to me, but I think they may actually be the brake lines. So by the way it looks, from here, let me go ahead and crawl out of here in a minute. Let's see if we can go ahead and get this other thing underway real quick, which would be the, oh, I got grease all over my hand because you guys made me have to get this phone holding. So let me go ahead and set the phone down for just a moment, put my other glove on. I'm gonna need both hands so I can try to show you this. All right, the camera, I hope it's showing it. I believe it's a 13 millimeter. I'm using the other metric set, which I think it's 7/16. If I ain't mistaken, let's find out. No, actually it's one bigger than that. I guess it's or I might have mixed them up. Yes, I mixed them up. I'm sorry about that. So I think I meant the 9/16. Let's check this just to make sure. I don't want to tell anybody wrong. No, the 9/16. I got these out of order. I think my nephew did it. He plays with them a lot. So the 7/16 again that I said before, I believe is right. Well, it was sliding on there yesterday. Let me just make sure that these are out of order. Here's a 1/2. Okay, I got you. It's a 1/2. Sorry about that. I had these mixed up and I'm trying to rush. I got my food here. I woke up late and it isn't gonna be, oh yeah, make sure it's on loosen before you even start doing it, before you give yourself more trouble. The righty tighty is the lefty is loosey. And so it is on loose. All right, let's see if it is called fix it right. See if to fix it right. Here's what you also want to do. Put a flathead. When I've been turning this, you have a rotation. The rotation is this metal piece, if you can see it when I flick it out. No matter how tight, see, it's this little metal piece right here keeps getting in my way. So I try to put my thing through this hole in case anybody says, hey, put your flathead or your Phillips through this and hold it like that. I've kind of tried that, it was kind of working. I need to get where it's hard to really, it's harder than it looks or than it sounds, because a lot of people, you know, show things. Now, I know I'm not doing everything perfect. There's other ways to do certain things, but this right here is what you would definitely call a bitch. Let me go ahead and wind it around, see if I can get my flathead in some kind of position. This thing's been the most annoying thing getting this emergency brake off because of that bolt. And trying to hold this thing still. And then it'll tire your arms out real quick. Oh, maybe I can just push that up. I don't know. It's probably gonna move the phone. So I may not be able to record this. Oh, it's still recording. Okay, I thought I cut it off. I may not be able to record this. I'm not quite sure because I don't want my phone getting messed up. I think that thing's still tight on there. And I might have to drop the drive shaft first. Maybe that's smarter idea. I don't know. I was using the drive shaft to hold the screwdriver at one point. Let's see if I can get this thing. I wish I did. Might need to figure out something to rig. Worst case, just because this is time consuming. See, that bolt's not even wanting to come loose. Oh, well, let me find out something here. Let me find out if I figured something out. No, that bolt's not wanting to come loose after even soaking all night with the fix it right. And that's some good stuff. I know that, oh, I'm holding the metal piece pretty good now. Yeah, that thing is caked on there. That bolt's like, that thing's not wanting to move. It looks like it's been like welded to it or something. I don't know. Or if it may unbolt from this washer looking piece. I don't know. I sprayed that thing really good. The worst case scenario is I would get this whole piece right here, this whole emergency brake line piece. So I'll either clip it further down, tie them up for now, just so I don't have to spend 2 hours trying to get this one bolt loose. These can't be that expensive for a cable, and it'll clip back through here. So I might not be dealing with this bolt right now. I might end up cutting it off. I don't know. I may soak it again. I'm probably gonna end up just cutting these lines because I'm trying to get my axle back on. But you got to get the emergency brake lines loose. Let's see, back to, okay, I'll probably go ahead. I'm gonna take these 4 bolts out. That'll drop the drive shafts here. We'll go ahead and do that. Oh, wrong way. Trying to hold the phone while I do this. So, if anyone, everybody that watches this video, if you would subscribe to my video, I will change anything, show you detail to detail. I don't mind taking criticism on what I've done wrong. I've never changed. I've done a lot of mechanical work. I'm pretty inclined on mechanical work. Everybody has their own method on doing things, but I can detail, show you everybody makes mistakes, but I can show you. There's 2 of the 4 8mm bolts. It took one of these clips off, as you can see. Remember, don't lose your bolts. Try to keep your stuff together. I've been doing a kind of a good job at doing that, but like my jack stands that are risky and I'm laying right under them, do not put your jack stands like that, because every second I'm risk dying under here. All right, I'm taking the, ow, well, I hit my arm on that thing, that emergency brake metal thing that keeps coming out. But go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and just drop this drive shaft. That's like, but you want to go ahead and your first thing is to loosen the bolts on everything. Your control arms, just loosen them where everything can be turnable pretty easy, or where it's almost out where it holds this rear end in. your lines, like your emergency lines, and then your brake lines and your vacuum. Your vacuum, you can probably pull that out. That's going to be super cheap to fix. Just make sure your lines are undone. I'm going to leave them stuck to this one, and I'm going to re-hook them to the new rear axle I got here with the new differential from the junkyard, and hook them to that one and bolt them to that before I put them on here, and then I'll hook them up where they need to go. There's a sensor that is on each wheel, a speed sensor, where I showed you before, right here where this bolt is, and next to it is the sensor. And make sure you're easy with it. Do not break the sensor off. I tried to take off one of these. This is like a rear track bar that goes around the back. It keeps the axle steady. You know, I guess another thing that holds the axle on the edges real steady for maybe suspension. So on the other side, these little rubber wheels, like bushings on the other side, was so old and so rusted, the bolt, as I was undoing the other one, the bolt just broke right off in half with me. One of the rubber bushings shot off and hit me in the arm. Pretty wild. They just attacked me. So I'm gonna have to end up changing this out. This whole thing. It connects to the whole back. I gotta also switch my hub out. Now that I got a ratchet set, I could get these 4 bolts that on the back that are holding the hub on this axle. As I told you in the first video, there's 4 bolts that hold the hub onto the axle. And I got new seals, and I gotta put the axles in there. I'll record that too. Sorry to end up making this a 4-part video, but I did wake up late and I haven't ate yet, so I'm gonna stop this video here in a minute. But if you are doing this, you know how to do the fluid already from my first video. If you're just needing a fluid change, if you're needing to swap it out, I definitely will have enough uploaded at one time, because I'm doing this non-stop till I get it. You'll have enough to start. So I got 3 of them out. There's 3 of that. This clip's loose. I keep hitting my arm on that middle thing up there with the emergency brake that was making me mad. Maybe I should go ahead and take this other one out. Let me lay the phone down so maybe you could see. Watch how I disconnect this drive shaft. I'm getting the last 8mm bolt out now. But remember, just loosen all your bolts. If you want to, there's a back air shock on the very back. I started with those. And but loosen everything first. Then after you loosen everything, deal with your lines. Make sure you disconnect all your lines that connect from the axle to your vehicle, so when you drop it and pull it, you don't break and rip lines loose and rip and break lines and everything else that you don't know. And just make sure all your lines are loose from the vehicle that go to the axle. So then once you have your lines figured out, that I'll show you out there, the emergency line was right there. I showed you the vacuum line, which is right there. Oops, sorry. The vacuum line is right here, and I haven't figured out these 2 yet, but I know they go to the wheels. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, well, the emergency brake line goes to the wheels too, but if I can't get it, I'm gonna cut them, and then these 2 may be brake lines. And if they are, I'll figure out. It's probably pretty simple to remove them. Wherever you just follow them, lead them to wherever they're at. We'll get to that in the next video and go ahead and release it. I got the, I did get my clips off. Yep. All right, this thing's supposed to, let me put you down here so y'all can watch. This thing's supposed to, come out. The jack stand is definitely not steady, and that's kind of scary because I can hear it kind of sliding. But I think they said sometimes you gotta pry it, you know. Maybe that's what we gotta do. I know. Oh, it's trying to pop off. I'll get my phone all kinds of dirty, huh? I'm putting my screwdriver right here beside this ball right here and this, and trying to pry it out. It's working really great. It's almost out now. See that behind that ball that I showed you? Okay, see, drive shaft is dropped. I got gut all over my iPhone XR. All right, the drive shaft is freely hanging, and now I feel like it's in my way when it comes to getting this. Now I can't really show you the emergency brake line. Let's see if you can see it from the ground. Oh, yes, you can. All right, let's see if we can get it real quick. I don't want to have to cut this as a learning video, because then I'm not teaching you right if I'm doing that. So let's see. This metal piece here still got my elbow bleeding because when I was trying to get the track bar off. It's really making me mad, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, I got the screwdriver in there, but the bolt's just not loosening. I don't know if I'm tripping or yeah, that thing ain't coming loose. I can mess with it later. If I don't, your worst case, cut them. Just get new emergency lines. They're cheap. They're gonna be a few bucks. And then, like I said, you got the coil spring, and there's one right here I showed you. See the screw clip on the coil spring? And then I think there's one bolt on the opposite side. You have a sensor right here, and then you have the 4 bolts also that's holding the hub on. I will show you my next video when I get them loose to pull the hub out. I got the new hub seals. I haven't pulled off these yet from last night, and I showed you how to change the differential fluid. Always change your gaskets and seals no matter what, and use new fluid. Then you don't have to worry about things for a long time. Like I said, loosen. You see how this is loose on this lower track bar? I haven't did the upper one yet. I was lacking tools. I got to loosen the bolt on that, but see, I haven't took it out, but it's ready to, so it's holding the suspension in. Then after I loosened all the bolts, but I'm about to do the upper track bar before the next video when I get off here. I'm about to disconnect whatever lines that I can. In the worst case scenario, if I can't get the emergency line, I'm gonna cut it around right here because it comes as a part from this to the wheel. So it's a cheap line. And then hopefully I can get it loose, eventually break it loose, if so you'll see in the next video. So loosen all your bolts, lower control arm, upper control arm. Don't mess with the coil spring till last, that helps hold it up too. You can go ahead, loosen that, get it real loose. If you don't have to change your hubs, I'm gonna still show you how to do that. You got this part, it's like a trap bar for the rear. You can call me out, you know, don't quote me on that one 100%. I got that loose. That's a double-sided bolt. You got to hold the top while you spin the bottom also. You got to hold one side while you're loosening the other. I forget what you exactly call that, but this one worked fine. I got this one real loose. It's ready to come. The other one broke on me. So that shows you how old it is. And then there you go. Lower, upper control arms, coil spring, this little trap bar, and then the sensor right here where my fingers point to with that bolt. I went ahead and greased that. After you loosened everything, oh yeah, the drive shaft is nothing but 4 8mm bolts. And right here where that ball was, I showed you I put a flathead to kind of pry it, to get it to move. It's probably been in there for a century. And then see the seal right here was broke on mine. All the fluid leaked out. You see how much plate, look how far it comes out. Look at that. You see that? All my fluid come out. And then look, the seal being broke, it was probably turning when it wasn't supposed to. Either way, the fluid come out, and I know it messed my gears up. I haven't even looked, but I already know, because when I put it in reverse, it has a constant grind, and it clunks so loud when I'm going from 0 to 40, like the wheels are gonna fall off. And then, so you're, after, you know, control arm, upper control arm, spring, after you loosen all the bolts, and then you can go ahead and take your drive shaft off so you can mess with your emergency brake line. And then make sure you get your lines. First, you just loosen all bolts. So it won't take you but 15 minutes to go, maybe 30 at the most, to run through and finish taking out all the bolts where this would drop, and make sure your lines are disconnected where they need to be disconnected. And then, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the part 3 video. What I'm gonna do is take all these bolts out of both sides that I have loosened here, and I gotta do the upper control arm. I'm gonna loosen all this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take that sensor out on the back right here, loosen the hub bolts, and show you once I'm gonna show you how to get the hub out, get one side out, and then I'll show you on the other side, and I'll show you how to put them in the new axle. Make sure you loosen this little trap bar thing that goes to each side, and always get your lines after that. Then you take all these bolts out to drop it. But it is easier dropping the draw shaft to get to the emergency brake line. So I will be catching you guys on the part 3. If you don't mind, please subscribe. Thank you.